All right, this is episode 10 of the radio podcast. And in this episode, we had Mr. Vlad Nikic. You guys know Mr. Nikic?
Yeah,
we do.
We've got Lazarus here and Daryl, both of the student council, our communications officer, and our vice president. How are you guys doing?
I am doing fine. Really good.
You said you wanted to wrap this.
Okay, so I made a rap this morning about the Halloween week that we're going to be having here at school. So I hope you guys all enjoy this.
Awesome.
So let me start. I don't know if you can hear the beat on there, can you? The events of the week. Tuesday is twin days, so dress nice and neat. Three-legged race in the gym, which Olsen twin will win. The 26th is superhero and villain day, so expect to see a bunch of clowns in the hallways. Everybody plans to be the Joker on that day. Thursday is a magical, it's Disney day. We plan on getting trivial in the front foyer. Friday will be great, it's black and orange day. And please pay for the cupcakes that we'll bake. We'll end it fine on the 29th. Costume day is how we'll end the week. And please don't buy a costume last minute at Tully's. We'll have a good week if everybody participates. Show your school spirit so we all can celebrate.
Yay!
That's good.
Good job.
Thank you.
I've tried my hand at rapping, but that is way better. That's awesome. Did you practice that, right?
Yeah, I practiced that a few times in the morning.
What a way to get back into podcast season.
Yeah.
So, this is all about Spirit Week this week, starting tomorrow.
Yeah, Tuesday's on the 25th, we're having Twin Day. And basically what that is like you'd be dressing the same as someone else. And we're having like a three-legged race thing in the gym during lunch.
Sounds
and
like
I just got to bring up my notes here for the rest of the days. The next day is going to be Wednesday is Superhero and Villain Day. So essentially what that is you can dress up as a superhero or a villain of your choice. And we're going to be having a few events with that. I should have brought this up earlier.
Are you going to be a superhero or villain?
I think I'm going to be a superhero. I think I feel like a superhero that day.
What are you, Daryl?
Obviously a villain.
Do you know which one?
No. I don't know yet.
Which villain do you usually, relate to? Which villain do you relate
Joker.
The Joker?
Yeah.
I could see that.
I did the Joker one time.
Really?
I don't know what I'm going to do this time.
What are you dressing up for Halloween?
I haven't decided yet. I don't know. I might bring back my Steve Minecraft thing. I'm making a costume for my son. It's going to be No Face from Spirited Away, you know?
Yeah.
So he's making that costume.
What are you going as, Laz?
I'm going as a Spider-Man. The Spider-Man
For
shirt and
Halloween?
everything. Oh, no, for the superhero and villain day. Oh. But for Halloween, I think I'm going to go as Darth Vader or as Luke Skywalker or something like that.
Nice.
So Wednesday the 26th is Superhero and Villain Day. I already said that. And we're going to have an obstacle course in the gym. Thursday is the 27th. Thursday is Disney Day, and we're having a trivia in the front foyer. And Black and Orange Day, where you can wear black and orange, like the color theme for Halloween.
That's on Friday?
Yeah, that's on Friday the 28th, and we're going to have a big sale.
They also have a traditional wear coming up on Friday too. That's done by the Culture Club. So if you have your
The Culture Club.
Yeah.
Is that with like Boy George?
I have no clue.
Do you know the Culture? You don't know the Culture Club?
I only know a few songs from Boy George.
No, I don't.
Like I'm a Chameleon and all
Karma
that.
Chameleon.
Yeah.
Do you really
okay.
hurt me?
And
I guess they didn't know about the Culture
them.
Club when they made the name.
yeah.
That's funny.
It's recognized by the world.
It's just made it.
Sorry.
Monday the 29th is Costume Day, so that's basically, self-explanatory. You'll be wearing a costume, and we're having a costume contest, but I'm not quite sure how that's going to be running, but yeah.
Yeah, it's practically like a fashion show. You come in, and you dress up, and so you show off your costume, and then I think there's a panel of judges or something, and then in the end of the day, the best one wins a prize.
Cool. So what else is coming up?
Oh, we have a haunted house, too.
Haunted house. You guys are working on that tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
We've been working at it hard for about 2 weeks now.
Today's an off day, and you guys are still here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
See, we're dedicated to this guy, so, if anyone is listening and goes to Delview, we'd really appreciate it if you participated in this event, and teachers too. It's really a great way.
Yeah, come on, teachers, get your game on.
It's really a great way to bring the school together and everything.
What are the details of that? The haunted house?
So it starts from 3 and it goes up to 5:30.
What days?
It's from Wednesday to Friday, the week before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's this week?
Yeah, this week. Yeah. And, I mean, the theme of it is like fairy tales, so you're going through 4 unique fairy tales, but we put a twist on it, so you may want to come and check that out.
A haunted fairy tale.
Yeah.
That's great. So right now you're in the midst of putting together the sets.
Yes, we are, and it's a lot of work, so hope you guys come out.
Yeah, I kind of had a sneak peek myself to the sets, because I'm not like part of the haunted house committee, but I got to hang around there, and it looks really good, and I think you guys would enjoy it if you go there.
No spoilers?
I won't give spoilers.
Yeah.
But are teachers allowed to?
Yeah, teachers are
Yeah,
allowed
teachers are allowed to.
How much is it?
It's about $4, like
$4.
last year, and yeah, so it's $4.
Good. That sounds doable. I went to the last couple, and they were great.
Oh,
Yeah.
You went to the one. I never actually went to one before.
What?
I've never gone to one before.
This will be your first one.
Revelation.
You better
Yeah.
go to this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be there anyways because I have to do something with the lights or something like that.
Yeah.
Anything else coming up? What are you guys looking forward to?
Remembrance Day.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah,
There's
Remembrance
a huge
Day.
assembly
Yeah.
that always comes every year.
You must remember Remembrance Day.
Yeah. Other than that, American Thanksgiving for anyone who.
Any American listeners up there?
I don't think there are many, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Other than that, there should be a spirit. There's Spirit Weeks coming up in the next month, but we're not sure yet. Just keep updated on the school calendar, and we'll find out how it goes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're hoping this year that we can get like school participation up across the board, meaning like from, students, staff members, anyone who's involved in the school to participate in these events, because like student council really puts a lot of planning into it, and we try our best to make something that's really enjoyable for like just Delview in general. So we hope that, all our working isn't in vain, and that you guys enjoy the Halloween week.
We've got a really good council this year as well. You guys have a big group of how many people?
About 28.
28.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. All right. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
And
Thank you for having us
Thank
on.
you for having us on, yeah.
Oh, anytime. Come back again. On to Mr. Nikic. Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
High five.
Sorry about that. Student council's looking for paintbrushes.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And they need drama teachers to do that for them.
Because apparently I have all the paintbrushes.
What you do?
No, I don't. No, we didn't clean them properly last year, so they got all gunked up with paint. We threw them all away.
Oh. Well, it's important to clean.
It is important to clean, so lesson learned for us.
Recycle. Yeah.
They were,
Sustainability.
yeah.
That's a shame.
Speaking of sustainability, you'll notice that my Coke can is green.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. It's a Coca-Cola
it's called
Live?
Coke
Life.
And it's sweetened with stevia instead of sugar. It's supposed to be better for you.
Is it also made with cocaine rather than caffeine?
They haven't done that since the 20s.
How old are you?
1896.
1896? Is that when it was?
Last time, yeah.
You know the exact year?
I know.
Well, he's a history teacher. I should have known that, but
Huge
I'm
fan of Sigmund Freud, who was actually sniffing it at the same time. But anyway,
This is all going out there,
Yeah.
that's fine.
We're actually
People
podcasting
know
live right now.
I admire Freud. People know that.
You had a lot of good theories.
Yeah.
So have we introduced our guest yet?
No, we haven't done
Who's
that
our
yet.
guest?
We are sitting here today with Mr. Vladimir Nikic,
Correct.
Nice.
who hails to us from the Social Studies Department here at Delview Secondary.
I thought he was going to say Soviet Union.
Well, that's what everybody thinks.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Because I wear a Blue Jays shirt, yeah.
How you doing, Vlad?
Excellent. How are you?
Good. I'm doing really good. Thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Especially on a game.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Especially on a game day.
Is it a game day?
Game's going on right now.
Yeah.
They're losing, so it's better to be here right now.
Oh, what's the score?
3-0.
It'll come around.
Hey, 3-0. I mean, the Canucks can come back from a 3-0 deficit.
Yeah, not a good time to be a Jays fan, that's for sure.
So can we go all the way back to early days? Like we know that you come from a different country.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious.
Sometimes people think that, yeah.
When did you come here, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, back in 1997. We came on July 28th, I think, 27th.
He was good with dates.
Yeah. And
From
Yugoslavia. And we came because there was a civil war going on, and we didn't want to take part in it, and chose Canada because my mom used to live here, and we still had a few of my aunts and uncles here, so we thought it's a good idea to come here. And
you come right to Vancouver?
No, we came to Penticton, and then I finished high school there, and then moved out to go to university here, and that's how everything started rolling, I guess.
Did you already know English when you
No,
arrived?
I didn't speak English.
Holy
That's
smokes.
a common question I get.
Yeah. So you had to learn the language.
I did. Yeah, I didn't speak. That was a little interesting at the beginning. Not challenging, but interesting.
Yeah.
So
learning new words and.
How old were you when you got here?
17, 17, I think. Yeah.
So you're learning English at 17. Wow.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
Well, I want to believe there's better people out there that can speak English better than I can. So, I mean, I'm a great writer. I know that. That's what put me through school. But speaking wise, you can tell.
Well, you definitely have an accent, but I don't think you're a bad communicator. I don't think you're a bad speaker.
Well, thanks.
Very proficient with the language. So you came to Canada in 1997. You graduated high school. You went to university. When did you become a Jays fan?
Well, that's a good story. Consider Yugoslavia. Never seen baseball. Never mind played it. Well, I came in July, and being a basketball player, I just wanted to watch basketball on TV, but NBA season is not on. Well, I didn't know any other sport besides football. I mean, soccer. So no one watches soccer in Canada, so there was nothing on TV. And I was sitting in the orchard all day, and I'm not a guy that would pick fruits, so I was in front of TV and I was looking for any kind of sport. I mean, I bet if hockey season was on at that time, I would have watched hockey and Canucks and other teams, but hockey wasn't on in July, so I chose baseball. I didn't even know what baseball was. I didn't know it was a sport. I thought it was some sort of like a ninja games, the American Warrior, something like that. I thought it was one of those things. Anyway, so I started watching, and I found baseball very at that time, intellectually driven. You have to know the rules really well, and it got my attention because I didn't know the rules, so I wanted to self-teach myself and figure it out. And I remember watching the Jays on Sportsnet at that time. It was it was called The Score. And then Sportsnet 360 used to be called The Score. So I watched them on that. And then later on in the evening, I watched, it used to be called TBS, the Superstation. I don't know if they have that still. And I know it was Atlanta Braves. And it was kind of going back and forth between those two teams, and nothing else. I had no friends. I didn't speak the language. I was just stuck in the orchard. So I watched a lot of baseball, kind of figured things out, and that's how everything started, I guess.
And always a Jays fan.
Always a Jays fan.
Not ever an Expos fan, because the Expos would have been around still back then.
Yeah, but Expos were not on TV. You see, it's kind of like what you see is that's where you create the first relationship with.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they say the first beer you ever drink is going to be the one that you like the most. So it's kind of like that.
Huh.
It's all about sensation and perception, I guess. Psychologist.
Psychologist. So you grew up in the orchards, you became a baseball fan. When you finally did go to university, how did you decide what you were going to study?
Well, I always knew that my parents are both in education, so I've been around education theories, and my mom's a university professor in pedagogy in Europe, so it was always talking about the curriculums and educational theory. And even though my parents didn't want me to become a teacher, kind of in words of my dad, why a teacher? You can do so much more in life than that. I still chose it because I think I like working with kids and with youth, and I think it's a great profession. So
you obviously had an interest for psychology in the first place.
Well, yeah, actually, I always say I wanted to become a psychiatric nurse as well. So that was kind of like my backup plan if they don't let me into education. So I like psychology because mind is very unknown, and we still don't know anything or much about brain, really. I mean, we all have hypothetical evidence. Even the science itself is based on hypothetical evidence of what brain is. So it's kind of interesting that way. It's unknown. It's dark, and we want to kind of figure it out what it is. So it's interesting.
I know people taking your course really, really enjoy it. They talk highly about it. They enjoy all the experiments and things like that.
Yeah, psychology is a very fun thing to do, right? That's why people keep going back, because it's fun. I mean, you learn about yourself, you learn about others, and you learn how to think differently, and you have explanations on certain things, why things happen with your life, with yourself. Unlike any other philosophical branch, psychology can actually determine why you do certain things the way you do them. And again, a lot of people are now, mental illness is an epidemic in around the world, not just in this country. And I think a lot of people take it to identify themselves to the science and try to figure out the ways to cope with the hardships of mental illness. I think that's one of the reasons, probably the biggest reason why people take psychology. And we do a lot with addiction and drugs, so people are curious about those things. Why would somebody do that? And how to overcome it. And there's a lot of immediate use to kids right now when they take psychology. It's not like, history of math. I teaching both of them, so I can pick on those two. Where some kids can identify with them and others not so much. So psychology is mostly, anybody can relate to it, right? So,
especially in high school, where there's so much stuff going on in kids' lives, right? There's so much instability in some cases, and
social pressure.
Emotion.
That was actually one of the topics for our experiments this year. Actually, that was the theme, to social norms and peer pressure. So most of the experiments this year was done on conformity at Delview, and for the most part, it was done pretty well. So
high school is really a microcosm of the entire world when we think about it. Each high school is almost like its own little independent city, and it runs in that kind of way. There's a social hierarchy that exists, and everyone kind of has a place where they fit or don't fit. And
yeah,
I think you're right. I think that there is an immediate takeaway from a psychology class for the students. Things that they learn in psychology they can use as instantly as that day.
Correct. Yeah. For the most part, most of them, unfortunately, they can, because unfortunately, like I said, mental illness is becoming an epidemic in this country, and it's evident that there are going to be students in this school that they're going to relate to those problems better than others. But I think psychology can also teach those that are healthy how to help those in need and be educated, and it helps alleviate discrimination and prejudice and stereotype surrounding the mental illness, because I think the stereotype still exists, and it's making things worse for those that's suffering and those that are in need of help.
Do you think that there is a little bit of mental illness hypochondria, though? Do you think that there are some people that are self-diagnosing themselves with a mental illness that may not have it and are just using it as an excuse or a crutch to find a way in the world?
Well, if you're doing that, then something is wrong with you. So the thing is, if people are using it as an excuse, then that's alarming. It's kind of like someone that would just get high to get caught. So it's a cry for help either way. I mean, you can't take that. You can't. We can't. We gotta take it seriously, because if somebody is coming to a counselor to seek help, they need help. And if somebody's coming to my class to learn about mental illness because they think they're mentally ill, maybe they are, maybe they're not. Again, none of us in this school is qualified to diagnose anybody, and that's not what we're doing in my class. But education is very important, and educating kids on it, on what that mental illness looks like, can maybe help them communicate information better to their counselors or to their doctors. And it definitely is going to help them understand each other, because like knowing about mental illness can maybe others can see that something's wrong, and maybe they can report it to an adult or to their parents or someone else. They can actually help them. But the thing is, if somebody is taking advantage of it, I really don't believe in that. I think if something, it's a cry for help, and it has to be addressed.
What would you say to our listeners if there's someone that's out there that might be struggling but doesn't know who to talk to or how to get help? What kind of advice would you offer?
Are we talking about the kids or adults?
Either.
Well, the best thing to do is to talk. And the best thing to do is to open up to someone that you trust, and that's the hardest part initially. But I think the biggest number one problem that people that suffer from mental illness have on path to get better is, the biggest barrier is themselves looking themselves in the mirror and saying to themselves, "Hey, I got a problem." Acknowledging and accepting the fact that something is wrong, that you are suffering from a condition, is the step one to get better. But most people, unfortunately, that don't get better are the ones that live in denial, or the ones that don't accept the fact that mental illness exists, nor figuring out that they actually have it. So they try to refuse help altogether. That's, I think, in my opinion, is the biggest problem with those that need help. If they understand it a little bit better, and if they feel more comfortable with it, I think, and I know a lot of psychiatrists will agree with this, is that they will be more successful in treatment. But again, the stigma attached to mental illness and the label that we have in our society to those that suffer is far greater than the benefits that we provide to those that are ill. So I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people don't come out, and because they're afraid that they're going to be weak, be perceived as weak, and not they're going to just be different, and it's not going to look good. So it's again tying back to our social pressure and conformity and things like that.
Do you think things have changed over the last few years? I mean, we certainly hear more about it nowadays.
I think it changed in a way that we talk more about it, but it hasn't changed at all in terms of how we're dealing with it. Mm-hmm. So it's actually gone much worse. When it comes to mental illness, it gone much worse than it was, let's say, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. It got worse because we're closing down the hospitals, and we're not providing care and enough resources to those in need. And I know there's always going to be somebody out there that's going to, give me some lame numbers and say, "Oh, look at this, we throw this millions of dollars into it." But the fact that you close down hospitals, the fact that our mental health and other medical system is underfunded is not humane, and it shows the lack of care for people in general, and that's a little scary right now. Coupled with a lot of stress that nowadays exists in our society, I think unfortunately mental illness is flooding. It's becoming flooding our society. It's becoming a epidemic. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, we're more knowledgeable nowadays, and we can the counter argument goes to say we're more knowledgeable about mental illness. That's why we are labeling more people. That's why we are diagnosing more people. But that's incorrect. We also know that sleep is, and I've been saying this for 9 years, way before the latest research on sleep was published. They meant that sleep is number one cause for everything. And recently, the psychiatrists are now actually, when you admit it to hospital, they're not even treating the condition, they're treating the sleep pattern first. So if you end up in a hospital, you will probably get sleeping pills before. I mean, if you get hospitalized for psychosis or for depression, you're probably going to see sleeping pills before you see antidepressants or anti-psychotic medication, because the psychiatry is now, latest research from UBC as well on sleep is that sleep is the number one cause for stress and for mental illness. And the thing is, a lot of psychiatrists today, a lot of them, are treating sleep disorders before they actually treat mental illness. And I think looking at the sleep research, our kids today sleep 2 hours less on average than their grandparents were. And this is just 2 generations. That's 40 years difference. And they sleep 2 hours less than their grandparents. I think that's number one reason why we have more mental illness today. It has nothing to do with the fact that we are smarter. If you look at DSM manual, DSM-4 was the last one was that was published before the DSM-5 that came out last year. They're exactly the same book. I mean, if you look at it, and that we're not more knowledgeable about it. We're not doing anything different than we were not doing 40 years ago. The only difference is how we live our life, and technology has a lot to do with it. But I don't think that's number one cause. I think number one cause is still this lack of sleep that these kids have. Now, technology like iPhones and television screens and all that new modern things that we rely on every day have an impact on our mental health for sure. But if you sleep 6 hours a day and you are a 12-year-old kid, your brain is nowhere near to be fully developed. You're automatically getting glands, and your corpus callosum is not fully developed until you're 15, 16 years old, and that helps you with your social stresses that you have, and that helps you with your everyday communication amongst people. You can imagine how big of a stress would that be for a kid if they don't know how to act in certain social situations, especially amongst peers. Like you said yourself, you have different city. Like, the high school is just another city, and if you don't fit in, it's not going to look good. It's not going to be pretty, and that itself is a problem. And if you don't sleep enough, deprive yourself, and you're adults, you can deprive yourself of sleep, and you'll see what you look like in 5 days, right?
Well, speaking of technology, do you think technology is one of the major causes of lack of sleep?
It could be. I mean, I know that research shows that the sunlight is imitated from the screen on the smartphones. Mm-hmm. So I always tell the kids, you go to bed. I mean, if you go to bed and your phone is sitting next to you, then it's more likely your brain's going to pick up the light when your phone goes through notifications. You're going to get sunlight in your face throughout your night. So the best thing to do is just to flip the phone upside down. If you are going to getting notifications throughout night, at least you don't get screen right into your face. But that's just little steps, right? It's baby steps. I think technology is great, but we don't use it in moderation. We're becoming lazy and we're using it all the time. And it's changing the way we communicate. So I bet that our brains are changing as well as a result of that. The whole communication thing is we're losing the social, not only social, but with the human element of it. We're becoming robots. We're conditioned to technology instead of to relationships, I think. Instead of building relationships, we're more conditioned to it. And it's a little scary when it comes to that. But again, I don't know how big of an impact that's going to have, and I don't think there is enough research to support that or to explain how technology affects us in our personality. At least we don't have there is some research, but not as much. But I do know that sleep, I can vouch for sleep for sure, that sleep research indicates fully that it leads to mental illness.
So, I mean, you teach psychology. You've always had an interest in psychology in university. And you coach, or you coached a lot as well. How do you think that helped with your coaching?
Oh, it's amazing. You know, it keeps you... as a coach, keeps you in mental shape, I guess. You know, you have to be sane, and you have to have clear head, and you have to be positive. And I think coaching has to start with you. The success for the team, it has to start with you. If you're level-headed, and you know, if you know what you're doing, but also can control yourself and have that intrapersonal intelligence that can carry you through tough times, I think you can do great things. And on top of that, understanding people and what they're going through, I think psychology has a lot to do with it. A lot of the times it helps in building relationships and trusting others, because teamwork is all about trust. And if you can build that trust, if you can trust the kids and the kids can trust you, the relationship is much more smoother that way. So psychology definitely helped coaching tremendously.
Do you know if you actually use some of what your knowledge of psychology to help your team
probably
build strategies and things like that?
Probably subconsciously, but not unintentionally. I mean, I didn't go into the locker room with a plan of using psychological theories or my knowledge. I think it was more subconscious, and it was more common sense that is probably product of undergrad that I finished at SFU, I guess. So it's just a byproduct of who I am as a person. And I think, you know, education, whatever the form it comes with, education can definitely shape you as a human being. You know, whatever education you get, either from your parents passing on by tradition, oral tradition, or by education system, or just by Googling things. You know, education can come in different forms, and I'm not really talking about books and tests. I'm talking about education in general, like building yourself as a person, the character, I guess. I'm talking about the character. So if you build up your character based on your experiences and where you come from, I think that can have a lot of impact on it. And I happen to have a lot of my background from, like I said, my parents and from psychology, I guess. So,
can we talk about your background before you came to Canada? Like, what was growing up in Yugoslavia like? And I know that you I don't know very much about that, but I know that you told me once that you played basketball and you got really far with that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yeah. First of all, Yugoslavia is probably the closest thing that we can have to utopia, and I mean, Canada is a great country. Don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near what Yugoslavia was. The standard of living is far more poor than what I grew up with. People just don't understand that because they're misinformed and miseducated from very corrupt media that we have in Canada, unfortunately. And I'm not a politician. I'm not. I don't have any cause. I don't support anybody or anything. But I do know what I see with my own eyes, and the happiness that country had, and my first 11 years of my life that I lived. No child in Canada or any other place, maybe Scandinavian countries. I've never been there, but they seem to be very happy. But I don't think that we in Canada today can provide what Yugoslavia did to me and my generation growing up. It was a very awesome place to live in which people worked productively, but they were not overworked. They were rewarded for what they did financially very well. Children would save. They would walk to school. Even in kindergarten, you would let the kids play outside. And I remember walking to my elementary school when I was in grade 1 with no parental supervision. It was a very safe place. And the emphasis was on kids. And the emphasis was on human growth and development. The emphasis was not really on money, but we had enough money. Everybody. There was no Hastings and Maine in Yugoslavia. You see that? There is no way. No one can dispute what I'm just saying. Even the biggest hater of Yugoslavian people, even the biggest hater that broke my country apart, even the biggest Nazi, because people that broke up from Yugoslavia are Nazis, even the biggest Nazi will have to agree with what I'm saying. There was no homelessness. It just didn't exist. And people had proper care, Medicare. If you're sick, you get top of the notch Medicare system immediately. No lineups in emergency rooms. It was amazing. Everybody had a vehicle. Everybody had a place to stay. Everybody had food on the table. It was really great place to grow up in as a child, and I can never forget that. I'm very thankful to grow up in that kind of environment for the first 11 years of my life, and then unfortunately war broke out for whatever reasons. There's different theories. Again, they're very political, and I'm not going to go into that because I may have my opinion, but it would probably be influenced by things that are not really well supported by my experiences, mostly by stories I hear because I was a child. So I'm not going to get into that. But I do know that the country broke up, and for whatever reason, but it did, and that's how I ended up here, and I'm glad I did because this is the only home I have. I got no other home, so Canada is my home, and I'm happy that I'm here. But growing up there and playing basketball definitely helped with just getting the mind off the war. That was a good thing, and I guess I was fortunate to sign the first contract when I was 15, and I was self-sufficient, put it that way, during that time. My parents didn't make any money because the war was going on. You don't work, you make $0. So they didn't have to worry about me, at least. Occasionally I would get shoes paid for, clothes paid for, so that way that was okay. But again, it helped me in a different way that my mind was off the garbage that was going on around me. And I think my parents were great because they encouraged that in me, encouraged me to keep playing basketball and forget about, that anytime soon the bombs can start flying here and we can all die. So it was different times. So basketball kind of kept me busy and kept me out of trouble, and kept my family happy because they knew that I'm still a happy child, even though we're growing up in a bad time. So it was pretty good thing that happened. So I owe a lot to basketball, and that's why I started coaching here, because I wanted to give it back to the game. Game is very important to me because it gave me a lot. So I would like that to believe that most of the players that play for me, it gave them at least a little bit satisfaction as it did to me. So
I think your players probably feel the same way. Probably, it gets them out of trouble, keeps them out of trouble, keeps them stable. They have teammates, they have a coach.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely. The biggest reason why I chose to coach at high school level is the growth of character and building up the character for the future and for the skill set that you need in the professional world. And it's extension of the classroom. It's not a classroom, but I still believe that I'm a teacher first and coach second. And most of the education was done through basketball, like you do in drama or science. You don't teach science or drama, you teach kids. And that's one thing that people need to understand when you step on the basketball court. I don't coach basketball, I coach kids. And most of my education was done around that. Now, basketball was obviously a very important aspect of it, in which kids had a lot of fun, and they became healthy because they work out, and their mind was clear when they go to class because they had that exercise. But that was all the benefits. But the biggest education that was done was probably what you just said: creating networking, developing relationships that's going to last a lifetime, learning from each other and being able to cope with problems individually and in a group setting. So a lot of things that we unfortunately cannot be done in the classroom. It was exactly what it's supposed to be, extension of the classroom. It was done outside of it. So that's why I really enjoyed basketball, because it helped that team building. And don't get me wrong, not everything was going smoothly. We had our ups and downs in terms of character building. But overall, I think the staff at Delview, we all worked together in building these kids' character. And I thought that throughout the last 9 years when I was coaching, everybody here in this school helped these kids that play basketball become better people. And you can see that from our grad class. Each and every one of them is a very good citizen. That's either working really hard right now or starting their own family or going to school for something amazing. All of them, all of our basketball players at Delview, they came out of this school really prepared for it. So it's something that I really wanted to happen, but also I got a lot of help from Delview staff who actually work not only with the kids but with me on how to foster these kids in the right direction. I think everybody at this school, I always say this and I truly believe it, each and every person that walked through Delview, that worked, teacher, administrator, supporting staff, people that are on our staff are great people, and I sincerely think that they were really genuine in their approach when it comes to Delview basketball and kind of what I envisioned, and they helped a lot over the last 9 years. Not only me becoming a better teacher and coach, but also helping the kids that were involved in Delview basketball, because there were issues that needed greater assistance than just a coach. A lot of these kids needed family, and I think they needed guidance from not just me, but from other teachers and supporting staff. And I think Delview staff was amazing collectively in helping these kids be where they are and helping us. I think I truly believe that the whole school takes credit for the finals in 2015 because the school lived for it, and everybody, staff and students in 2015, we went all the way to the final. They helped us, even if they didn't know they did, but they did a lot. So I can thank Delview for making me a better person. I can thank Delview as well for creating Delview basketball, because I know that we would have never been this successful if we didn't have support from school.
I think it goes both ways, as I've seen as well, where, sometimes we have the basketball kids in our classrooms and something's going on with them. We often consult with the coach, right? And you've always been there to help them out and sort out things, and because it's almost like a second family to them.
Well, it is. Well, we want to make, same as anything else. A lot of kids that go to Delview, same as the teachers, they spend a lot of time here. Even those kids that are not associated with basketball, but Delview is a community, and I know that all of the people on our staff, they keep coming back, and everybody wants to be here. But I can say firmly that goes same for the students. Most of our students, if you come here on Friday night, you're going to see students at Delview. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, people are still here. That tells you that they rely a lot on this school as a community, and it's really a special place. Delview is, I always say, a small school that has a lot to give. That used to be our the motto, or whatever you want to call it, the slogan when you walk through the door used to say that this is a small school that has a lot to give, and I really bought into that very quickly when I started teaching here. So I think both the staff and the students in it, I think we all love coming here every day, and I think subconsciously they create some sort of community that we take care of each other.
You talk about community building and the fine community that we have built here at Delview, and being a small school, and all the things that we can do to help the students, and to help the students build community and to give to the students. And the staff, and how we're all really good friends, and it's very supportive, and everyone's here to support everybody. You had an incident this summer where, for better or for worse, the Delview community rallied around you. And I was just wondering if you would take us a little bit through what led up to that moment.
Absolutely, exactly what you said. I mean, if it isn't for Delview community altogether, I would have been, who knows, I would have been in straight jacket right now. I mean, it's it wasn't easy. I mean, I've been through some things in life that I overcame, some things easily and some not so easily, but losing your home and walking out in a pair of shorts and with a cell phone in your pocket is not something that happens every day. So
can you go through a bit of what happened?
Yeah, like what time did this happen? Were you woken up by an alarm? Like, walk us through it.
Well, I wasn't sleeping. I was watching the movie, and
What movie?
It was The Spotlight, because he won an Oscar, and I wanted to see it. And it's a great movie. And I was very, very, very rudely interrupted by somebody that was yelling outside and wanted me to get out of my apartment. So I had to pause the movie, so I was not very happy. And then the fire alarm went off a few minutes later, and I was also very angry because I couldn't start the movie again.
So they were yelling before the fire alarm?
Yeah, it's before the fire alarm. Yeah, so then the fire alarm started, and I was very angry because I thought it was a prank. I thought it was thieves. They want us all out so they can come in and clean our place. So I was getting a little agitated, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So I didn't quite take it seriously. I didn't think there was a fire until I came back, because I initially went in the hallway to just tell people to calm down and to see who pulled the fire alarm, just because I was not so happy at that time. So I came back because we saw the firefighters were already coming up, and I was afraid that I'm going to insult the firefighters if I stay in my apartment.
So at this point, you didn't smell anything or see anything?
Well, I live in Surrey. I did smell a little bit of smoke, but then you smell smoke every day if you live in Surrey, so something always happens. That's why they say it's better safe than Surrey, right? So, so the thing is, I came back to lock my door because I sincerely thought that thieves are going to rob my place. And as I was closing my balcony, the flames burst out of the apartment next to me. It was about 15 feet away, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
So the flames burst, and even then I didn't think it's serious. I thought, okay, this is gonna take 20 minutes to put down. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And so I didn't grab anything. I grabbed my phone because I was gonna play video games on it while the firefighters are going to put down the fire. So the only reason I have the phone, and then the only reason I didn't lose the phone, was to play video games or online poker, actually, while the firefighters are putting down the fire. And I thought it was going to be 20 minutes. But when I came down and when I saw what happened, it was a different story. So things quite changed after that. So we got evacuated, and the buildings next to us, 3 other buildings, so 4 in total, got evacuated. So the firefighters had to put it down. It took about 15 hours. It was a 4-alarm fire, which is pretty big, actually, the biggest in series history, I guess. And it was definitely different. It was definitely something you can check off your bucket list, I guess. And after that, it was a reality check. A couple of days later, because at first you don't think about it too much, but then again, a couple of days later, when you kind of get some sleep and you wake up and you realize, oh, wait a minute, I've no place to go now. I have no clothes. I have nothing. That's when you start thinking, what happened? So, I was fortunate again. I keep saying that over and over again, how fortunate I am to be at Delview, because there's so many amazing people that walk through these doors. And very, very quickly after this thing happened, before I even knew it, Noah Choi created a GoFundMe website. Wendy Galtz was collecting donations on her own, chasing me around Delta so I can buy some clothes. And I have to mention Cecilia was that night, because I was pretty much naked outside. Cecilia came and gave me a Delview basketball shirt so I don't get cold. And it was amazing how people rallied really fast. Like I said, Wendy was there the next day and really gave me something to pretty much have in the meantime, like pretty much emergency. I mean, Cecilia and Wendy were better at that time than pretty much the Red Cross was for us. But then again, when Noah started the website, and when people started flooding the Facebook with messages and support, that's when I started feeling a little bit better. But like I said, if it isn't for those messages and if, I wasn't working at Delview and all the people that reach out to me, that meant more than the money itself. Money is good now because it helps me restart my life and rebuild. But at that time, I think being in a shock and being very bitter and disappointed on life itself, I think the people reaching out, just saying, hey, how you doing, Vlad? Or, hey, Mr. Nikic, sorry to hear what happened. Just those words kept me alive, I guess, if you can say it that way. I don't want to try to be melodramatic, but it's the truth. So a lot of the messages on Facebook for former students and from current staff and former staff and people that were just phoning me and leaving text messages as well just kept me positive. It kept me thinking that I should move forward and not look back, because at that time all you want to do is look back, and you want to look back, what if? And there's a lot of ifs and buts, and why didn't you take your passport with you on the way out? Why didn't you wear your jacket? Why did you not wear shoes? Things like that. Like a lot of things come to your mind, and why didn't you grab your jewelry? Why didn't you just grab your wallet? simple things like that go through your mind, and to just kind of beat yourself up over things that are useless. I think a lot of the messages kept me going, because there's a lot of people that they care about me. That's how I was looking at it. A lot of people that are reaching out, they want to help, and they want to do anything at this point just to make me feel good. That kept me alive. They kept me sane, literally sane, and that kept me through this. And I can say that I'm over it. I was over it as soon as the school started, because I was at home. In a way, Delview is home. And as soon as the school started, I think I was the happiest person in the world that the school started. I can firmly say that. I don't think I was ever so excited for the school year to start as I was this year, because, and it has nothing to do with a class or with anything else, but to see all the people, all the students, all the staff, they helped me through this and kept my mind off of it, because I'm a very positive person, and there's a lot of negativity that happened over the summer, and I'm not used to it, even though we came to this country because of war. But that was really, I had a different outlook on life at that time. I was a child. But now it's different when you're an adult. You're thinking at things differently. And I think Delview community and Delview secondary helped me overcome that almost instantaneously. It was very instant. And when the school started, it definitely opened up a new door for me, new outlook on life. I've seen all the kindness firsthand, all the people that were coming out, reaching out to me in person now, all those people that were sending messages. And then the students walked in, and you kind of, when you look at the students, you always think about the future. You never think about the past, because the kids grow and the kids graduate, and the kids do great things in life once they do graduate. And as an educator, you kind of look at those kids, they walk through your door and with a smile on their face, and they want to greet you. They want to learn. They want to be better people, and they want to grow and ultimately get out of here and do great things on their own. And that kept me really, not only sane, but kept me going forward and kept me positive, because seeing these kids every day, I know that they're going to grow into good human beings and make our society, make Canada a better place. And that's what kind of kept me going. And it was definitely therapeutic. It was definitely something that I feel privileged to have. It's a privilege, and it's a gift, because Delview is such a special place, very special. And people who never been here, they wouldn't understand. Again, not only staff, but the students that go through these hallways are just amazing, amazing people.
It's amazing how many, I was looking at your GoFundMe list, how many former students and former staff came back, and, contributed to that. But you see that at some of our events, like Thanks for Giving, which we just had. So many former staff and students come back. Like, I was looking around and going, hey, I remember you. That was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. They're back to experience it again. It's really something, because walking through the hallways, you just feel that sense of like we're doing something different here, that people can feel comfortable. Not everybody, but I mean, people tend to feel comfortable here.
I've seen kids at Thanks for Giving. I call them kids. They're not kids now. Some of them are 26 now. Mm-hmm. But I've seen people, kids that come, my first grad class in 2008 come here. They're 26-year-olds now, but they still bring cans. They still participate. They still come to our soccer games. I had 2 students that graduated in 2009 who came to soccer game the other day and watched it with us. And they came to say hi, and they also watch the whole game. They weren't planning to watch it, but they saw the game and they're like, oh, this is kind of cool, let's watch it. And a lot of people come obviously for basketball events, but Thanks for Giving is probably what defines us, and it's all about community support and community building. And I mean, I've been to a lot of schools in my or in my last 25 years that I was going to school, or no, more than that, 28 now. I'm getting old. 28 years in schools. I've seen a lot of schools, and I mean, this is truly a special place because not many schools can say that exactly what you said. Alumni, former staff, current students, all kind of team up and live Raider life. It's truly special. I don't think many people can say that. I know other schools try with different sports activities because sports brings tradition, but it's not the same. It's not the same because Delview is not defined by a single thing. It's defined by itself, actually, by community, and that's what we have here. It is a community. It's a wonderful place to be, wonderful place to work, and I'm sure students are going to agree with me. It's a wonderful place to attend and learn. So I think I thank everybody that was involved in Delview overnight, ever, because like you said, there were former teachers that reached out to me, and I want to thank again everybody that has Raider blood in them, because I mean, I don't know for how many times we showed that we are the best school in BC. So, I mean, no doubt in my mind about that. So
you touched on a little bit of your start in teaching a little bit. Now, before that, you were big into basketball. You made it to the national team, I think you said?
No. I played semi-pro.
Semi-pro.
Yeah, when I was 15 to 17.
Did that continue when you got here? Did you continue to play
I think
basketball?
Lack of English was my biggest problem. I played in high school, but I chose not to play in university basketball because I didn't speak English properly, and it was either go to school or play basketball. I knew that I can't make it to pro level. If I do make it to pro level, it's going to be a bench player making $1,200 a month, and that's going to happen for a couple of seasons, and then you're done. Like I pretty much knew where I was in the pecking order. And playing university basketball, I know I was good enough definitely to play at the next level, but it wasn't really. It was a choice, my conscious decision to focus on education. I was afraid that I'm never going to learn English if I don't, go to Douglas College and continue studying English and try to transfer to SFU someday. I mean, I was successful at it. I'm pretty happy about it, but basketball was definitely not a priority at that time.
So do you remember the moment you knew that you wanted to do teaching? You wanted to become a teacher?
Well, subconsciously, I think I knew I was going to be a teacher when I was 7 years old. But that's not what my parents wanted to do. So, again, they thought I'm much smarter than being a teacher. They wanted me to go into finance or to go into law.
So you actually knew that you wanted to teach eventually.
I knew that I'm going to be in education.
Yeah.
I knew I'm going to be into education. I always thought my dad is actually, he was a vice principal and a counselor. So I always thought, okay, I'm going to be a counselor like my dad because I don't think I'm as smart as my mom. My mom, like I said, was a university professor, and I thought that's, it's too smart for me. So I always thought, I can just work in high school, but really didn't got to it until I got to SFU, 2002. But my parents wanted me, like I said, to go to law or to finance. So I initially started with business and was, volunteering in certain law firms just to kind of get my feet wet, wanted to see what it's like. On top of that, I did some volunteering as well in mental institutions because I wanted to, again, psychology was pretty cool. But being in a law firm and sitting behind the desk and working with papers and pens and things like have no human connection or value, I couldn't see myself do that for the rest of my life. So and plus my business marks and because I took some business courses, I was really bored to death. I found it very boring, not rewarding at all, and very redundant job. So, and then, I looked at a lot of my friends that went into teaching at that time, because I didn't really stay away from basketball during my college years. I was reffing basketball. So a lot of the refs come from education background, like they were teachers. And I seen them, their stories, in the locker room, you're getting dressed for the game, and these refs are telling you what happened at work. And I was like, wow, that reminds me of what my parents did for a living in Yugoslavia. It was pretty cool. And man, I only hear these stories. Growing up, I hear these stories. I mean, reffing basketball, I hear these stories. Kind of, what am I doing studying business, And that's kind of what, there's a guy named Jerry Carvelis. He was a teacher from North Van, and he happened to ref a lot of games with me. And Darren Owen, another one, he's a teacher from Richmond. And those guys, they just have their little stories when I work with them, and it's kind of like, man, I'm doing the wrong thing. I got to go into teaching now. So soon it became a passion, and it became when I transferred to SFU, it became a goal. It became like something that you just accept. There's no, when they say failure is not an option, right? It's kind of like that. Like, no, I'm not becoming a teacher. End of story. Like, even if I don't get accepted, like, eventually I'll get accepted. If I don't, maybe I'll go into psychiatric nursing. But I was just like plan C, and plan A was going to education, and plan B is go to education somewhere else. Like I always tell, if I don't get into SFU, UBC will accept me,
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I didn't get accepted to SFU, but I did get accepted to UBC.
So, point proven. I mean, come on. Let's face it. Waldman went to UBC. No, I'm just delete that.
No, I think I talk to kids who seem like they know that they want to go into a certain area, and like for me, I didn't know. I just went and took courses that I was interested in, and then finally, I kind of like you, I thought about all the things that I enjoyed, working with people, working with kids, doing summer camps and things like that, and then that's kind of when I realized that's perfect. I just want to teach. That's what I want to do. And, I often tell kids, you might not want to be so decisive as to exactly what you want, because you want to be a little bit open to new things that come along, or, discovering one day that, maybe this is not the right path and I'm going to switch paths, and that's okay. Right? Well,
the kids that usually come to me and they're very frustrated nowadays, especially grade 12s, because there's a lot of pressure going back to, the stress levels and lack of sleep and mental health that we talked about. There's a lot of kids that are stressed out because, again, there's tremendous pressure nowadays on them to graduate and go to university. Mm-hmm. And the pressure is that much higher because, unfortunately, the system doesn't really prepare them for university to that extent. We do our job, all of us, to educate them, but preparation itself is on a different level, and some of them are confused and lost in a process of how to get there, and others think beyond university and they don't know what they're going to do, and when they come to me, they say they are stressed out about it, and you can tell. You don't need to have PhD's psychology degree to look their face and figure out that they're stressed out over these things. But the only thing that I would recommend these kids, and that I tell them all the time, is the beauty of our education system is you can go to university and change the profession halfway through it without losing any credits or money to pay for courses, because we do have things like breadth requirements. We have, changes in majors. We have flexibility on going from, the arts into sciences for grad schools. We had people that, have arts degree, going into business, finishing MBA, and becoming a very good, successful businessman or businesswoman, and going into human resources and doing different things that not necessarily were accentuated in their earlier stages of undergraduate studies. So the only thing I try to convey to these students, they talk to me about these things, is I always tell them the bright side, which is, you're very capable and you can do it, because I firmly believe they can. If you want to go to university, do it. And if you choose a couple of courses and you don't see yourself in them, not the end of the world. You're not losing anything. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend kids that if they're planning to go to university, do it right after high school. Because unless you have to find a job, and unless you're not sure at all if you should do it or not, then don't do it. But if you know you're going to end up there anyway, do it. You will find yourself. You don't have to take 5 courses. Take 3 courses. Take 1 course. Work in the spare time. But have your feet wet. Go there, talk to academic advisors there. Pick the brains of other students, what they like, because there is life after high school, and it's a great life. And a lot of these students that they're worried about what they're going to do in life, they need to learn that they will find themselves. Like you said, John, you go to university and you don't know what you're doing, what you want to be when you grow up. Mm-hmm. But you do grow up, mm-hmm. and you kind of find yourselves in it. And you become somebody that you want to become. And I think it's most important thing that I do tell these kids is that, you know what, as long as you find something that you love and you're passionate about, you will be good at it. Because if you don't like what you do, you can never get better at it.
Right.
There's no motivation that will drive you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what was your career path like after you got into education? You finished that.
Well, I was a TSC for one afternoon at South Delta Secondary, and next day I was teaching at Delview full time. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know that. I thought you were at some other schools.
No, I was born and raised at Delview. Delview is my first and only school. And I've been very privileged.
Yeah.
Spoiled. That's why I act the way I do.
So how long have you been here now?
I'm going to my 10th year. My first day was on September, I think, 8th, 2007.
He is good with dates.
He is good with dates.
Yeah, well.
So I was here.
Good with numbers altogether.
I think I was here 3 years before you came.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember getting close. He was going into his 5th year.
Right.
And it was like something like that.
Something like
that. He was still telling me he's not an experienced teacher, and I was just looking at him like, what are you talking about? You have 5 years here. So it ended up being very fast. Time flies.
And we almost lost you. At one point, you were working with KPU. I think you were considering...
Oh, no. Well, I was... that was... Let's not get into that. That's actually probably the biggest stress. I think bigger than losing home. But
really,
things didn't quite work out there because of, again, the way we treat kids is not very nice in this country. I think overall, I don't think kids are the priority. I think this unfortunately our society today don't prioritize children over I don't know, money and more money. So the thing is, I got myself into very dark waters, and I experienced very bitter side of education system or lack thereof. Not the greatest experience. Yes, I had a bigger picture for Kwantlen, and I had bigger picture of what education system at that level should look like. And But again, it was very deceiving in the end, and it was not really what our society wanted. And a lot of kids got hurt. And when kids get hurt, I get hurt, because I'm very passionate about providing the care and providing and fostering kids to become good citizens. Ultimately, I think that's why we all teach, is to make kids become citizen. I think it's our social responsibility, and I think it's our moral responsibility as educators and Canadian citizens to build a society that's going to be strong for the years to come, even after we die. Because if we care about Canada, then we care about who's going to live in it after we're gone. So I think that was not the case, unfortunately, at Kwantlen, and it left really bitter taste in my mouth. But again, I always know that I always have home here, and Delview's roof over my head, and it's home, and it's family, and it's community, and there's always the light at the end of the tunnel. So it was definitely great to be part of this, and it's been, again, privileged to be hired straight out of SFU to Delview Secondary. It was just felt like winning lottery. It's the same thing.
But at the same time, I think you were part of building what we have now, right? It wasn't always going to be that way unless we kept it up and did our part to make it what it is now.
Yeah, I think like I said, the students have a lot to do in it. Staff has a lot to do with it. I think this is a very, very accepting and very loving staff that cares about everybody. It's not just about one group of staff or not. I think collectively staff respects each other, whatever our roles are, from the admin to custodial staff. I mean, we all friends with each other. Mm-hmm. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, I may see our admin as our bosses, but I also see them as mentors, as friends, as family. And it's, I know that I can trust them. I deeply do know that deep inside that I can trust. I mean, everybody that walked through that door, I mean, like I said, from the administrators all the way to custodians or whatever, however you want to make the stereotypical hierarchy look like, and I don't even know what it looks like. To us, I don't think there is a hierarchy. I don't think there is. I don't think there's that pyramid of structure of where you belong in Peking. I think we all respect each other. I think this is why this school is successful, because we worked with each other. I think that everybody cares for each other, and I think that's why we have a great staff. And I think the kids are feeding off of that. I think the kids see the mutual respect that we have for everybody in the building. And I think that respect is modeled to kids, and that's why kids are, I think, getting better every day. I mean, this school, like you said, was not always the way it was right now. And I think it took a lot of time and work and very long, a lot of persistency, a lot of grit that staff in general had. All the, supporting staff, teachers, administrators, over the last 10 years and now, that, kept modeling this, even when it didn't work, even when, some kids didn't maybe want to go down our path. We kept our beliefs, and we kept going, and we kept going, and I think we're now where we at, and I think it's a great place. I think we're at its highest when it comes to level of respect and dignity and citizenship at this school. Considering how involved our kids are in a lot of charities and in a lot of events and a lot of community programs, I think I want to say we did an amazing job modeling the behavior that we want in our citizens, in future Canadians that are going to come out of this school and rule Canada. I think we modeled it right well, and I think we grew through the process as well as people, as individuals, and I think we're going to continue to do the same. So
going forward, what do you think? What are some of your goals as a teacher, and what are some of the things you're looking forward to? Like anything new and exciting for you, or things that are goals that you want to hope to meet?
Well, I would like to grow, continue to grow as an individual, like I have been doing for the last 10 years in this school. I think we can always get better. I think this school is amazing, but I think we can do more. I think creating a culture in which we're going to kick ass when it comes to academics is maybe the step we need to move towards now. I think we established definitely that we're definitely the best school in our district when it comes to uniqueness, progress. We have by far the most progressive school in our district. We know that we have our students are the most involved in the community, like no other school can or does what our students do. I know that athletics has improved a lot over the last 10 years overall. I know that we have a long tradition in drama and art and fine arts, and I think academically we're really solid in comparison to everybody else. But I think we can excel. I think we will excel. I think introducing flex time was a really one step towards that, and it shows that we constantly are who we are, very progressive people, and this school is striving to be better. So in introducing flex time this year, introducing collaboration time a few years behind, was really a great indicator of where we are as a community and where we want to go towards. And I think that not only that, but in years to come, I think we will achieve our academic goals as well. I think that a lot of schools, including us, we're struggling a little bit with numeracy and literacy. There is a little decline, but I think we're going to overcome that. I think that the kids are taking, our students are taking flex time very seriously from what I've seen in my room and talking to other teachers. I think kids are actually very productive, and as a teacher I see improvements because kids are less stressed out since we introduced the flex time, because they finish their homework on time, and also they have more time to reach out to us and talk to us about things, not necessarily always about school, but right. Problems as well, which is something that I'm looking forward to, because I think we can help, maybe not everybody, but one kid at a time, and I think this can be a better place. And it wouldn't hurt if we win a blue banner. I would like to see that.
Let's do it.
Any team. I'm not talking about basketball. I'm talking about any team. I don't care if it's badminton or bocce, if they even play that. I really don't care what it is. I just want to see. I think we will run I think we're the last school in our province without a blue banner in the gym. Maybe Kent knows a few more schools because he's an AD. Maybe, but I haven't been in a school, and I've been through a lot of schools, coaching basketball, going to the gym. I've never seen a school, except us, without a blue banner. So I think I would love to see any sport just win a blue banner. that would be a good thing to do. Anyway,
let's be a blue banner school.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us today. And obviously, you're a very amazing person and a passionate teacher. So we're glad to have you here. Everybody's glad to have you here. That's why you had so much support. So it's you. So thanks a lot.
Well, thank you, John. Thanks for having me, and Mark.
Yeah.
Thanks for
and go
nice
Jays.
Comments. Well, yeah, I hope so.
Could be over now.
It is over now.
We'll see. All right. Thanks, Vlad.
Thank you.